So we now have our patient panel. Sarah Sheikh from UNC is going to moderate. Sarah is a rheumatologist and a clinical trialist, and we'd like to invite our patients to come on up. All set?
Thank you, Brad. Thank you to the meeting organizers, conference co-chairs, KDIGO. As Brad said, I'm a rheumatologist and allergist immunologist by training, and I can say that in the past 24 hours, since I've been in the company of all you fabulous nephrologists, I feel wiser and cooler already. I also want to thank KDIGO for the intentionality with which you've incorporated the patient voice into not just this conference, but into all that you do. I think we can all recognize that the work that we do every day is so humbling, whether we're physicians or researchers or in drug development, and that the patient lived experience not just informs what we do, but also inspires it. So we're so excited to have Britton and Andre here with us today and give us an opportunity to learn from them. I want to remind everybody that this is a safe space, obviously, for exchange of ideas. The data that maybe anybody shares is all available in the public domain. What is not available is really the human experience, which we will get from Britton and Andre today. So Britton, if you want to come up here first. We'll have Britton and Andre tell you a little bit about themselves and their stories, and then we'll have questions for them and welcome questions from all of you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Britton Kopitke. I am from Charlotte, North Carolina. About 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with lupus. It started off as a really bad rash, quickly developed into much, much more. I'd kind of gone through all the traditional treatments with my doctor in Charlotte, and I was just kind of at the end of the road. My kidneys were deteriorating very fast, as were a lot of my other vital organs. It had affected all of them aside from my brain. So my doctor in Charlotte had attended a conference where he heard Dr. Sheikh speaking about a CAR T-cell therapy trial that she was putting on at UNC hospitals. And I was accepted into the trial, and yesterday was my 1-year mark from receiving my CD19 cells. So it's been quite the journey since. Brad actually spoke about me without knowing in his presentation earlier. I was the patient that suffered from stage 4 ICANS. So it was a battle. I went into an unresponsive state for about 4 days, and I had some seizures and really just kind of went through the ringer. But I'm here on the other side of it, and if you asked me to do it again, I would say yes in an instant. So I know that it can be very scary to participate in some of these new trials and new treatments, but I think the alternative is far scarier for us patients. So I was 24 years old, and I was dying before my parents' eyes. So the trial really brought me back to life and gave me an opportunity to live again, which I am making the most out of. So I'm very grateful to be here today before all of you. And I just feel honored that I get to be in a room with so many people who made these types of treatments possible for all of us. So thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andre. I am originally from Brazil. I live in New York for 31 years. In 2023, I was diagnosed with IgN nephropathy through asymptomatic. It was through a blood test that I found out through my primary doctor. And then I went to see a nephrologist, and then they referred me to a trial at Mount Sinai, New York, through Dr. Campbell right there. And then I've been in this trial for a year already. It's a 2-year trial. And I have seen some progress. I know Dr. Barrett said there is no cure for this, and I understood. It was very illuminating for me what you said, but we see some small progresses all the way. So I'm very happy to be here and learn a lot today about everything that was presented so far. Thank you, guys.
All right, we're going to start with some questions for both of you. So the first question, I think this is rhetorical because you're on the other side of this, but we're talking a lot about timing of therapy. You know, you chose to be in the clinical trial, obviously, after so many therapies had failed you. So I guess a question would be, might you consider a clinical trial earlier in the course of your disease, perhaps if it had been brought up early as we think about these treatments and where they fit in?
For me personally, I wish that this treatment would have been available to me day one. I suffered a lot for almost 3 years. I was on just about every medication to treat lupus and my kidney disease that I could be. I was doing monthly Safnello infusions. I was on high-dose prednisone for over 3 years, Plaquenil, mycophenolate, voclosporin, basically all of the heavy hitters, and it wasn't enough for me. My body was just attacking itself constantly. And so had something like this been brought to me sooner, I would have jumped at the opportunity, because the life that I'm living today and how I feel is something that I never thought would be possible. I knew that there was no cure for lupus, and so I kind of video logged a lot of my journey throughout it, and I go back and I look, and I was just writing about how, is this my new normal? Am I gonna ever feel better again? Am I just gonna always be miserable and sick and in pain? And that's a really scary place to live in mentally. So the life that I live now is beautiful and wonderful, and I feel incredible. So I definitely would have taken part in the trial sooner if it was something that was brought to me sooner.
Andre?
Yeah. For me, I was diagnosed with the nephropathy on February. I started trying April, so it was pretty quickly for me. I took it right away. And it took me 2 days to decide to participate. Everybody that I talked to said, no, don't do it. And then I just decided to do it because everybody said no, so I said, I'm going to say yes. So it was a good thing for me. I did it as soon as possible.
Yeah, no, I love that you said that, because how, human beings make decisions about anything is both an art and a science. So one of the things, we're at the sort of cutting edge, like time in history, really. Britton and I talk about that, where we have all of these opportunities to bring to our patients, but one of the struggles is, and really responsibilities on everybody's, how do we bring these opportunities for new therapeutics to our patients? So might you, like for everybody in the room, we think about, what helps people make decisions, perhaps, about participating in a clinical trial? What would be helpful sort of hints? What are the words when your doctor is talking to you? What do you want to hear, perhaps, that might help inform sort of your decision to participate in a clinical trial? Go ahead.
But I have a question for Andre. Why did your friends, colleagues tell you don't go in a clinical trial? Because
of this guinea pig kind of trial thing, so you're being tested. But I thought that if they put me to this trial, they already tried before. That's a lot of study before this. It's not just, okay, I get an injection, I'm going to give it to you. I thought there was a lot of study before, so I decided, because that's what I said, the other side, it's not as good. So what can we do? It's much better to participate and help than don't help, because how you can communicate with everyone, the theory and the practice.
Yeah, you brought up an important point, because we hear that too. I think the conception or misconception is that, when someone's whipping up the drug in their garage and then injecting it. And I think,
just an injection, yeah.
Right. So I think this understanding of how much time, effort, money it takes, study before they get to humans.
And this is after I get the trial, I just want to say, I learned way more about my disease than with just my nephrologist, which is a visit every 6 months. So every 2 weeks I see someone, and then I have report my health and everything to this person. So I get a feedback pretty quickly. So that was very, very important to me. So I'm very happy to be part of the trial. Thanks, Dr. Campbell, right there.
For me, a lot of it was desperation to feel better. I had exhausted pretty much all of my options at that point, and I had great faith in my doctor in Charlotte. From the minute I met him, he listened to me. He never dismissed anything I was feeling, anything I said to him. If I said there was a problem, he had solutions A, B, C, D, E. And that was something that I'd never experienced before in traditional healthcare. So then when he introduced me to Dr. Sheikh and her team up in Chapel Hill, it was the same feeling. I instantly felt like they had my back, and that even if it took 10 times, they were going to get me to the end result that I was after. And they did a really great job at instilling faith and confidence in me to have in them. And that's really what drove me to sign on for the trial. And just like I said, the desperation, I didn't have really anything to lose. And the future that they were saying this could possibly give me, I knew that the reward far outweighed any risk that was present with participating in the trial.
Maybe this is also an opportunity to talk about sort of the process of informed consent, particularly for these studies, and how rigorous it has to be because of the risks and side effects. And we've talked a lot about it because you experienced a very severe side effect, but of the many things maybe you have felt, I think one of the things I'd never heard from you or your family is that you didn't know that it was a possibility, right? Like you felt like
Right.
it was explained to you. Do you want to comment a little bit about?
From day one, I read there was about a 50-page consent packet that I had to go through, and I read over and over the part about cytokine release syndrome and the neurological effects that could come from it. And I think somewhere in my brain, I kind of knew that if it was going to happen to somebody, it would probably happen to me. My case was never really one that was ordinary. I'd always been the outlier, resistant to treatment, very aggressive. And it's not really great when you hear doctors tell you, you're a puzzle piece and we're going to have to figure this out along the way. So I think somewhere in me, I kind of knew that it might happen. But like I said, I knew that they had my back, and I knew that if it did happen, that I was surrounded by the best people that I could be surrounded by, and that if it came to the worst, that they had my best interest at heart, and that they were going to work as hard as they could to get me back to normalcy and bring me out of it, which they did miraculously and very, very quickly. My family was well aware of it. We were all very aware that this was a very real possibility. And for us, it didn't matter because, like I said, the reward was one that we never thought I would be presented with. And so any risk that came with it, we were willing to battle through it. And I knew that if I was the one, and I was the one, that I was a fighter and that it wasn't going to stop me and I would come through the other side of it. So I just think I had that mindset going into it that even if this comes, I'm not going to let it scare me. I'm not going to let it claim me. I'm going to go through and fight to the other side of it. So,
Awesome. I have a question about, we heard a lot today about kidney biopsies and repeat kidney biopsies. So as both of you as patients who've had, the disease impact your kidney, what do you feel when your doctor says, hey, you might have to do a series of biopsies, whether part of clinical care or as being part of a trial? Tell us a little bit about, does that feel intimidating? Does that feel like, okay, sign me up?
It was definitely intimidated, and you feel pretty upset because sometimes the doctors just say right in your face, this is it. I mean, that's just present the case and go figure it out. So when I went to the trial, it was more that I understood better about the disease, and my urologist helped me a lot too, not just my nephrologist. My urologist is a very positive person, so he really, I was trying to feel sorry for myself, and then he just said, Andre, this is not it. So, and then I started feeling much better and much more confident about everything. And Britton and I were talking last night at the cocktail, that being positive and face everything with the positive vibes, with sense of humor, and I mean, it's just in a positive way. That helps a lot. Your mindset, it's very important when you see this disease, right?
So does positive energy make you sign up for the biopsy better if we're positive when we say it?
In terms of the kidney biopsies, I had 2 prior to participating in the trial. And for me, they were easy. They were quick recoveries. And the way that I looked at it is if my data and the information that they are getting from my biopsies can in turn help 10 people get cured essentially from lupus, take 20 biopsies from me. I didn't care. I was willing to go through whatever was needed so that my case could help people down the line not have to experience what I experienced. So even if I helped one person, it was worth it to me. So the biopsies were never something that I even questioned in my mind of, oh, do I really want to, subject myself to that? I just knew that whatever they needed from me, whatever information, however many pricks and pokes I had to go through, it was all worth it, and that it would be useful to people down the line, which was really important for me. So,
Brad?
So I'd like to ask both of you, Britton, you brought something up that was interesting. You said your consent form, you read 50 pages of stuff, and I don't know, Andre, how big your consent form was, but I'm sure it was not tiny.
The same size.
So how did you get, you read through it, you understood it, you were okay with it, or did you go back to your provider? And I'm curious who the provider was. Was it your physician, or was it sort of the clinical trial personnel with questions? How did you deal with the consent form and terminology you may not really be very familiar with?
for me, I'll keep it short and quick so I can let you share. But for me, a lot of the terminology I was very familiar with. I, throughout my entire journey, have been my biggest advocate. When you speak to me, you'll know that I can pronounce a lot of the names of the medications that I'm on better than some of my physicians could. And I'm very knowledgeable about my disease and my case, which I think is so important. And if you can advocate anything to your patients, it's to be that for themselves. It's how I found my doctor in Charlotte who connected me to Dr. Sheikh. It was all on my own doing. So for the consent form, I was given it via email, and then leading up to my first appointment with them, we sat down, and it was about, I don't know, I was there I think probably all day. And we went piece by piece through the consent form. Any questions that I had, the entire team was there to answer them. And when I didn't have questions, they had questions for me about why I didn't have questions. So I was very, very informed on all aspects of the consent form. And even after I signed the initial, there have been revisions that have been made, some because of me and what I went through. So at each step along the way, they did a really great job of really making sure that I understood what was happening within the trial, what the steps would look like. So I just think taking the time, not just sending over a consent form, and really making sure that you're blocking out a good bit of time with your patients to go through what everything really means and what they're about to embark on.
Yeah, thank you. Before you answer, I'll say that this is so important that you asked, Brad, because as we all know, sometimes the line item is, oh, the screening visit is 1 hour, 2 hours. It's an entire day. And for a lot of these treatments, the multidisciplinary nature of the team, so our nephrologists, myself as a rheumatologist, our hematologists, we're all there at the initial visit. So that's important. Andre?
Yeah, I never asked any of my physicians about it. I only talked to Dr. Campbell at the time team. And then when I get all the paperwork, it was very intimidating. I was, as you say, there's a lot of terminology that I don't know. So Elizabeth at the time, she said, Andre, the day you come here, we're going to go page by page with you. and then you put initials, you sign everything. But she walked me through everything, so that was very important. Even all the visits, and she highlighted for me, this is a long visit, this is a short visit, this is whatever it would be. She walked through me, so it was very easy in this point. So Dr. Campbell's team over there at Mount Sinai, New York, it was excellent to me. Thank you for asking.
Jürgen and then Roberto.
A question to both of you. I often find that my patients, both in trials and in regular care, turn to the nurse for questions because they feel this is easier or at eye level instead of asking me. What is your experience with that?
I'm going to write right after. I always text Dr. Campbell, and he always texts me back. Everything that I did, like I was diagnosed with, I have asthma for New York in October. Well, I don't know, I never remember, but they sent me all these medications, so I didn't know if I can take it. Instead, I asked my physician, I asked Dr. Campbell. In 40 minutes, I have all the answers I needed. So both, I asked after some relevant questions, I asked the nurse, but Dr. Campbell was always, and now Dr. Meliambro, she does the same thing. She took over from Dr. Campbell.
For me, I'm not sure how you operate with your patients in clinic, but Dr. Sheikh is at every single one of my visits, as is my nephrologist, Vimal Darabel, and the rest of my team of doctors. They are there for every single visit, and they see me face to face. They examine me. They put their hands on me. I have them all on speed dial, so any questions that I have their personal phone numbers, and I've had those from the beginning, even before I had the relationship that I have with them now. So they made it very easy to access them, which I think is very, very important. None of my other doctors that I've seen throughout my life do I have their phone numbers. I have to call the office, and then I'm put through to the nurse, and then I have to go through them. But from the bat, it was, oh no, we are your points of contact. We are here for whatever you may need. There were times when I had my adverse event that I would be in the hotel afterwards, and I would spike a fever, or I'd have a little bit of a symptom or something off, and I would instantly shoot out a text, and within minutes, even if it was 11:30 at night, I was getting responses from all of my doctors. So I think that is really important. And like I said, I'm not sure how you operate, but maybe just making sure that you're really building that connection with them off the bat and letting them know that, like, I have you. I'm not too busy for you. Nothing is more important to me than you and your care.
Thank you. Roberto.
Yes, so yes, I do agree. The patients I treated so far, they all have the cell phone. So one thing that I wanted to acknowledge before I ask you the question is that I do think that it takes, for now, until now, a special person to go through CAR-T. It's not just a special patient because they have to be refractory, which I don't agree even with the term, but it is a special individual that goes through this when it comes to connective tissue diseases, because it's a journey, it's a very heavy journey, and there has to be a lot of trust, but also self-confidence. You know, we can give you all the support you want, but if there isn't self-confidence in something that is unknown, I mean, it's you know, we are a lot of billions, and only a handful, after all, has been treated. So thank you for that courage. The second thing is, I don't know if you noticed in the presentations so far, but there is a theme throughout, and that is that we have, the most data is about autologous CAR-T, but we are trying to look into something that is less aggressive, that is less immunosuppressive, but still doesn't hold the same promise, because we don't know yet. So, and we're looking for ways to mitigate potential serious side effects. We all do that, you know, we all try to do that. But do you think that by doing that, we are taking away, we are eroding the idea of a clinical cure? In other words, do you think that we are getting less and less aggressive and lose that initial enthusiasm from a professional point of view, from a patient?
100%. Be aggressive. I think that's so important. I needed aggressive. Because my disease was aggressive. So I needed a team of doctors that told me, hey, it's going to be bad. It's going to be really bad, honestly. But it's going to be okay at the end of it. However we get there, whatever that looks like, we're going to make it happen. So I know that there are, new treatments that are trying to shorten times between treatments and like the cells being created and modified. But I think that don't try to condense it too much. Allow the process to play out as it's designed to. And in the waiting period, yes, I got really sick again, but I think that's also part of the story, and it made my results so much more worth it because I knew what reality looked like without any treatments, and now I am off of all medications after the trial, aside from one blood pressure medication, and I'm nothing like I was before without any medication. So I think be aggressive, stay aggressive. Don't try to limit it too much. That's all I can say on it.
I second her. It's the same thing for me. It was very important.
Thank you. 2 questions, you, and then you.
Me?
Yes.
All right.
Sorry.
Mujit from Sydney, Australia. I mean, we're clearly looking at the very ideal scenario here where patients do very well, both of you. But I just want to ask, we do know that the trial is actually a course, like it required durations. So what motivates you to stay in the trial? Maybe you can advise if you don't really get the same results that you would anticipate, like your proteinuria didn't come down, or perhaps, Britons at the time when you actually had significant side effect. Have you ever considered withdrawal? And if not, what motivates you to remain in the trial?
I never thought of leaving the trial, and I have a slight improving, and but the most important, as Dr. Barrett said, it's stop progressing. I forgot to say I'm stage 3A, between 3A, 3B, and kidney disease, and since I was diagnosed, it didn't progress so far, so I'm stable. So that's what makes me continue the trial, because I'm trying to look at the light at the end of the tunnel in a different way. Maybe I know it's not possible now, but maybe tomorrow will be. We never know. So I never have this doubt. I never try to drop the trial.
I never even thought about it either. Even in the thick of it and at my worst moments, because for me, it was like, if not them, then who? So if I wasn't with my research team and my team of doctors through the study, who was going to help me? So I had that confidence in them, and I think it comes back to them establishing that for me and knowing that they had my back. And even if my results weren't as positive, I knew that they weren't going to give up on me and that they were going to keep pushing and keep fighting for the results that we were after, even if it took more treatments or a different type of CD cell being administered to me. I knew that they weren't going to give up on me. And so leaving the trial was never something that crossed my brain, because if it wasn't them, then I didn't know who could help me.
So we'll have our final question because we're at time.
Yes, Janis Parolus from Sweden. So something from our clinical reality that I find frustrating is when we're happy with the labs and we have given a treatment that has normalized everything seemingly, and the patient is not satisfied, and we really don't know how to address this concern. So I would like to ask you, how did this therapy that you received change the burden of your symptoms on these softer outcomes that we sometimes don't know what to do about, we don't know how to address them. So tell me about your fatigue before and after the therapy.
The fatigue is something that it occurs. It's on and off. It's not every day, and Sometimes I think it's your mindset said that you're tired too. Sometimes it's physical. Your eyes literally closed. It's like I was always a very hyper person, so I never really tired during the day. And then sometimes, like at 3 o'clock, my eyes start closing. But it's not something that happens all the time. It happens, as I say, on and off. But it was after I was diagnosed. So I don't know what causes it, but it is one of the symptoms that I have. Other than that, I'm completely asymptomatic. I don't feel anything different from as I said, my urologist said my kidney function is fine. My nephrologist said my kidney function, it's not fine. That's the difference between.
Yes. So one thing I want to highlight, because we're at a time and we don't want to be the session that runs behind, so we're going to close now, but I do want to point out one thing and then I'll get final thoughts from you guys. One of the things that both of you said is that you learned about the clinical trial from your healthcare provider, your physician. So I think in terms of resource allocation, when people are, I think those in drug development are thinking about a radio ad or an internet push, I think it's important to highlight that the majority of patients learn about clinical trials or new opportunities from their healthcare providers. And so in terms of resource allocation, we need to keep working towards making sure that physicians and healthcare providers have resources and opportunities, time and space to have these discussions with patients. So any final thoughts, Andre, and then Britton?
Yes. Quickly remind them of where they started and what they're no longer experiencing. The fatigue is maybe something that's lingering, but I'm sure they probably have 10 other things that you have reduced for them. So remind them of that. In terms of the clinicians recommending the trials and finding out, I think use the patients more. I couldn't find any patients or really anything about people that had participated in the trial that I was agreeing to take part in. And I think that would have been really helpful for me. I just kind of jumped in blindly, and thankfully it worked out for me. But use us, at least from myself. I'm so happy to speak about what I went through. I'm an open book. So use your patients, have your patients advocate for you. I know just with UNC hospitals and Dr. Sheikh, I've recorded some videos about the trial and about my participation and my experiences. And I feel like that is really helpful to potential participants down the line so that they can hear firsthand from the people that went through these treatments what it was like, what to expect, and how we're doing afterwards.
Same thing. Just continue doing trials. Use us. All the information that you guys want to during the break, lunches, or anytime we have other than here, I'm happy to share all my medical records, anything. I'm completely open book to as you. Thank you so much for today. It was great so far.
Thank you all.
Okay, everybody, that wraps the morning session, and we are going to have lunch at level 3, and then we have about an hour for lunch, and then we're going to do the breakout